What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for checking this video out. If you're new to the channel and you were brought here by the title of today's video, welcome. Hope you enjoy the channel and this video, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy and like to keep following along. And to my current subscribers, thanks for your continued support, and this video will be kind of formally introducing my Trailblazer SS to the channel. So you read the title, and that is correct. It's not clickbait. I will be converting my all-wheel drive Trailblazer SS to rear-wheel drive for less than $100. And no, it's not because I will be removing my front drive shaft. That's actually not possible with the way the transfer case on the Trailblazer SS is designed. It's designed to be full-time all-wheel drive, and if you remove the front drive shaft, the truck basically won't move. So let's get into this. I will show you what we need to do and the parts we need to make this conversion, and we'll get started. So here are the parts you need to do this swap. This is a transfer case out of a base Trailblazer or Envoy. This one specifically is from a 5.3 Envoy, but any of them will work. It needs to be the 226. Let me see if it'll focus. The 226, the NVG 226 from the base model Trailblazer Envoys, like I said. You'll need a new gasket from Chevy. I will post all the part numbers and such in the description below. And then you don't need this, but I'm going to be changing the fluid in here before I put it in. So I just got Valvoline full synthetic transfer case fluid, and you have to make sure it works with the GM Auto Trak. Another thing I will mention is you have to have the encoder motor bolted up to the transfer case. This one, the person that removed it from their truck confirmed that it was locked in two-wheel drive. So literally all we have to do is put this into that and we're good to go. If you get one that either doesn't have this, you need to go ahead and buy and bolt it up, and then you can take these, you basically take these two little screws out, and you have to turn this little electric motor in there to make sure that it is locked in two-wheel drive high. So that's all you need to convert your all-wheel drive Trailblazer SS to rear-wheel drive. I got really lucky and found this transfer case on Facebook Marketplace for 70 bucks. So with the transfer case, the fluid, and the new gasket, the gasket that mates the transfer case to the back of the transmission, all these were barely $100. I think it was actually still under with everything. So all we're going to be doing is removing the factory transfer case and installing this one in its place. And with that, I will also be removing the front drive shaft as well as the front axles. Alright, so we're under the truck, and I just want to show everyone, just so everyone knows what you're looking at here. So this is the factory transfer case that is connected to the back of the transmission. There is your rear drive shaft, and then up in there is your front drive shaft right there, and goes to the front diff, which then obviously connects to the axles and out to the wheels. I won't be removing all the front end components. I will be leaving the front diff in place because it is a pain in the butt to remove. I had to remove it before to replace the seals, and I did a whole front end while I was in there. So that's going to stay in there until if I ever have to remove the motor or any other work like that, then I'll take it out. But that's going to be staying in there. But I will be removing, like I said, the front drive shaft as well as the axle so that the front diff isn't spinning, and then I'll go ahead and drain the oil out of that so it doesn't splash all over the place. So first thing I'm going to do is remove the rear drive shaft. It is simply an 11mm wrench. You have 4 bolts, two on the top, 2 on the bottom. Make sure you mark how this is situated, because you don't really want to flip it over when you reinstall, because this is weighted and it's matched to where it mounts up from the factory. So you want to put it back the same way. So we're going to go ahead and remove these, and then it will just slip out of the back of the transfer case. Alright, so I have the drive shaft out. Just make sure you lay something down to catch some of the little bit of fluid that I had that came out of the transfer case. So depending on what your angle is, you'll lose more or less than I did. We'll bring this out from under the truck, set it aside. You want to protect this end. Don't let it get scratched or dinged up or anything, because that is what seals it to the back of the transfer case. Alright, so the rear shaft is removed. Now we're going to remove the front shaft. Again, 4 11mm head bolts. I find it best to use a socket for this one, so you can loosen them there, and then you can rotate the shaft to get to the other ones. Alright, so that's removed. I'm just going to let it hang there. I realized trying to remove this is stupid because this whole thing is coming out. So I'm just going to leave it attached here. Plus, there's limited room up front to push it forward. So I'm just going to let it hang there and start working back here and getting the transfer case unbolted. Alright, so before I go ahead and start unbolting that transfer case to put this one on, I just wanted to show you, since this is out, the stuff you're going to have to remove on that one to get this one in. So this is no particular order, but you're going to have a breather hose that needs to pop off. The stock SS transfer case does not have this plug or this side one. It only has this one, which is the vehicle speed sensor. These two are prop shaft sensors that one does not utilize. So basically, get the other one out. You just have to disconnect this connector. There's wires that go across the top with these clips, and these, they just kind of, you can get a screwdriver or your finger in there, just pop them open, that'll open up. And then this part is held to the actual transmission with 5 nuts. They're 15 millimeter. Little bit difficult to get to since you have to go by the exhaust and all that. So you just have to see what works best, what size, what length socket, and you may have to use some extensions. All right, so I got this connector loose by squeezing these tabs and popping it through here. The connector that is up in here, you can't even see it. It comes down into this connector. That is this wire. So it's really hard to get to up here to unclip properly without breaking it. So what you can do is, if you undo that there like I did, and then unclip this connector like that, you can then actually pull the transfer case, lower it down, then you'll have more room to get up here and actually disconnect it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to get all of these nuts out and drop this thing down. So when I'm removing something, I usually do the hardest bolts or nuts to get to first. And the hardest one up here is right up top there. As you can see, I got the nut off already. But what I found best worked for me is a 15 box wrench going up through here. So that's the front drive shaft up this way, and then up onto the nut. Break it loose a little bit. Then I have a 15 millimeter ratcheting box wrench, and again, same spot. I was able to go up in there, get it onto the nut, and then once it was loose enough, I just was able to thread it off with my fingers. Alright guys, there it is. The transfer case is out. This is the back of the transmission, the output shaft that goes into the transfer case. And this is that gasket. We got a new one that we'll be replacing. This is that wire that was connected up here. Once I dropped it down a little bit, I was able to just pop it out. So as you see here externally, they are just about identical, minus the motor on the new transfer case. And then, like I said, this has the propeller shaft speed sensors, which are just pretty much dummy holes here on the stock one. And here is the front drive shaft. It's not very heavy, probably, I don't know, 5 pounds. But I actually, once I lowered this down a little bit, I actually just popped it off so that I didn't have to fish it out through the back. But as you can see, it's an externally splined shaft. It's sealed. So when we throw this one in, we're obviously not going to connect that one. It won't leak any fluid out of here because it's all sealed. And theoretically, you could really leave your front axles attached. You really don't have to touch the front end because it will just rotate. It'll rotate inside the front diff. And then where the front drive shaft hooks up, the yoke there, that's also internally sealed. So you're not going to lose any fluid. I'm probably going to remove them just so I have that much less weight, that much less rotational mass. Even though I don't have the power going to the front, I just want to take off as much as I can. Alright, the transfer case is up, attached to the transmission now. Just have to go through, tighten everything up, put the rest of the nuts in there. Alright guys, so I have the clip for the encoder motor just kind of tucked up out of the way over these other wires. Have my speed sensor clipped back in, my cable tucked back onto the clamp. Up there we got the vent hose hooked back up. And then, of course, over here, the wire that was disconnected, we got that clipped back together. So again, just do a final tightening of all the nuts here, and then we will be sliding the drive shaft back in and hooking it back up. Alright, there it is, tucked up in there. Just going to install the drive shaft, put it back onto the rear end here. Make sure your parking brake's off so you can rotate this to line it up. Bolt it back on, again, 11 millimeter bolts. And then we can check it, make sure it is in fact in two-wheel drive high. Alright, so now that the drive shaft is in and connected to the transfer case, you can go ahead and check to make sure that your transfer case is in two-wheel drive high. And to do that, make sure your transmission's in park, and then you rotate your drive shaft. And if it doesn't spin freely, then it is in two-wheel drive. Then, what you also want to do is come up to the front shaft that would normally go to your front drive shaft and see if you can spin that. And as you can see here, it spins freely, which means and further confirms that it's in two-wheel drive high. If you find that it's not in two-wheel drive high, you can take this cover off, and there's a gear in there that you can spin around. I think it's clockwise. Since mine's locked in two-wheel drive high, I don't need to do that, but I will post a link in the description, a good read-up or write-up of how to take this cap off and make sure it's in two-wheel drive high. And while you have your truck jacked up, you want to go ahead and remove the fill plug here. Check your fluid. If you didn't drain, there's the drain bolt there, or drain plug. If you didn't drain this and refill it, once you get it situated, bolted in, make sure the truck is level. You pull that out, make sure that you don't have too little fluid or too much, and the fluid should come up to it should just start to barely trickle out of this hole. All right, this thing is finally rear-wheel drive. Again, stock was all-wheel drive, threw in a new selectable transfer case, and now just those rear wheels, the magic wheels, will spin. Obviously it's back down on the ground, wheels and tires are on. I rotated them. I had to replace an O2 sensor as well, so I did that while it was up in the air, as well as an oil change. Like I said before, you don't have to remove the front axles or really anything in the front. I did, just to get rid of the extra rotational mass or weight, but you don't have to. All you have to do is just keep the front drive shaft out over there, and you're good to go. And the last and final thing we'll do is take it for a drive, make sure everything works, and see, what the difference is. I'm really excited to see how the rear-wheel drive is compared to the all-wheel drive. So that's it, guys. It's really easy to convert this thing from all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive. Just be on the lookout if this is something you want to do for that transfer case. Again, that's the NVG226. It is a direct bolt-on swap to this. You don't have to change any electronics, nothing. Just pop the old one off, pop this new one on, and you're good to go. And as I said in the beginning of the video, this is the cheapest way to do this, to convert this all-wheel drive to rear-wheel drive. Yes, you still have some of the extra weight in the front if you don't remove the diff, but the rotational weight and all the drivetrain loss is really what you're looking to minimize. I'll actually be doing a follow-up video comparing the all-wheel drive to the rear-wheel drive once I drive this around and see how it is and see how it compares. So be on the lookout for that. This was just a step-by-step, the best I could do DIY for how to swap this in for less than $100. Yes, I did it for less than $100. So now I get to go do some burnouts, have some fun, and see. My main reason for doing this is to see if it will decrease my track times just by making this thing rear-wheel drive. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed, please do so. And just keep an eye out for this truck, to appear more on the channel. So thanks again for watching. If you have any questions, drop them down below. If you have any questions about the swap, the install, just drop down below. I'll be sure to answer. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the day. Whatever you guys do, keep wrenching on your cars, and I'll see you next time.